And then the number two things are you have to invest in energy and agriculture, because those global systems are going to be the ones that are most harmed by the ongoing inflation. Just one quick note, just to point out to you that what I'm saying is happening right now. If you look just in the last 3 months, shares of Monsanto, which is the big seed company that a lot of people don't like because they use genetic engineering in their seeds, and some people are very afraid of that. I'm not commenting on whether or not that's a good or a bad idea. I'm commenting on the fact that farmers around the world buy that seed because it's very productive. Their share price has gone from $45 to almost $70 in the last 3 months. There is no plausible explanation for that kind of a move in that big of a company unless you know that inflation is coming to agriculture.
Well, all the financial experts and economists we've had on have been saying for 2 years that this inflation was going to accelerate right around 2010, 2011. And now I see the headlines. 45% increase in rice, 50% in corn, 30% in this. I mean, it's going up across the board. And when I've studied hyperinflation throughout history, Porter, am I right in saying that the further you get along, the faster it moves?
Exactly, because the only way to deal with these rising prices are now going to cause more credit problems, going to cause more deficit spending. It's kind of a cycle that builds on itself, Alex. And, you can guarantee that the government's not going to say, no, we have to put a stop to this. We have to let companies go into default. We have to let banks fail. We have to stop spending money we don't have. And a democracy, that's never going to happen, because there is no political organization that stands for sound money and sound policies. You've got the Republicans who want to cut taxes. You've got the Democrats who want to spend. And if you look at the deal they just cut last month, you see, what did they agree to do? They agreed to cut taxes and spend more. That's exactly the opposite of what we need to happen, and that's that's the root of this problem. There is no political consensus in this country to have sound money and to have balanced budgets.
Well, still, if you talk to the average yuppie about having sound money, getting rid of the Federal Reserve, they laugh at you. It's a type of brainwashed, received knowledge to giggle at anyone that warns them. Again, even Glenn Beck gets attacked for warning people about this. And so we're looking at some people that are really going to be helpless. What do you predict they're going to do? I'm worried about the government forming them into a zombie army to push for total government, total taxation of the middle class to feed them during this crisis.
I'm not saying that you're wrong about that, Alex. That might happen, but what I'm saying to you is that will not solve the problem. If you doubled the tax revenues from last year, we still would have had a deficit. You cannot solve this fiscal problem by raising taxes. It cannot be done. The only way to solve this problem is by drastically reducing the government overhead. And we both know that'll never happen in this country, because more than 50% of the people that vote don't pay taxes. So there is no way this set of incentives, this structure we have right now in our government, can survive. And the way it will be destroyed is through a massive inflation that is underway right now. As far as the yuppies laughing about people saying we need to have sound money, we need to have money backed by gold and silver, let me tell you what, it's the greatest lie that has ever been told. We convinced American people over the last 50 years that a piece of paper was more valuable and better than gold and silver. That is incredible. It's never happened before in history that the world reserve currency was backed purely by nothing. And people are going to learn an enormously painful lesson, that you can't have money that's backed by nothing, because pretty soon all you're going to have is nothing.
Well, I wish you were wrong, but history is replete with examples. Every economic indicator shows you're 100% right. And Porter, I have to agree with you, not because your information is like some type of crystal ball prediction. It's as you said. This is the facts. This is the reality.
Yeah, I wish I was wrong too. In fact, if your listeners want to look at the video I've made about all these issues to get to the details of it, you're going to see me saying repeatedly, "Look, this is the fact." I didn't make this number up. The U.S. federal spending really is $4 trillion, and total income tax and corporate tax revenue really is only $1 trillion. So all these numbers are there for people to consider. But the problem, as I see it, is that people don't realize that we are finally reached the point where you can't just kick the can down the road, because the rate of increase in the size of these debts and the financing costs have become sort of parabolic. I mean, the total national government debt, the federal debt, has doubled since 2000.
And as you know, Porter, that's only what's due right now.
That's only what's due right now.
Not obligations. Right. And for those that don't know, the website to see the free video is endofamerica3.com. And Porter Stansberry predicted the collapse of GM, Fannie Mae years before it happened. Freddie Mac and America's biggest mall owner, General Growth Properties, a few years ago. In fact, Barron's called his work a dire prophecy. And again, even the Wall Street Journal, many other publications, Kitco, say this guy's got some of the most accurate predictions out there. But as Porter has said, this isn't one of his big, complex predictions based on, a whole bunch of data. This information is all right out there in the open for everyone who wants to know the truth. And I happen to agree with him. There is not the political will or the education or the lobby out there that wants to stand for saving our economy. These are cutthroat offshore corporations that are all greedy to consolidate their bottom line, and out of crises, because they know what's coming, they're pre-positioned. They're going into all the raw materials for at least 5 years, into the farming stocks, into all these areas that we've been telling you to get into. And, Porter, what's going to happen as things really start to unravel faster and finally the dumbed-down masses figure out where the good investments are? Will those not create super bubbles?
I tell you what, Alex, my real fear, and I understand this sounds alarmist, and I wish it didn't, but my real big fear actually relates to oil and gas prices and the federal food stamps programs, because I don't think it's going to be very long at all before gas is over $5 a gallon. And when people can't afford to drive to work anymore, and when people can't afford to buy groceries anymore with food stamps, you're not going to just have a financial problem. You're going to have a really big societal problem. And, it's already happening in places like Atlanta. I don't know if you know this or not, but, MARTA is the big public transport system in Atlanta. And because of the fiscal crisis, they've had to cut the number of routes and the availability of the public transportation. And that's resulted in a lot of people not being able to get to work. And so you see that now the airport workers, a lot of them have to sleep in the airport at night just to be at work the next morning, because the buses don't start running until 7 o'clock instead of they used to start, at 5 in the morning. So you've already beginning to see at the edges these things fraying, these things coming apart.
And by the way, it's 43 million people now on food stamps. I mean, it's growing.
Yeah. I mean, there are only roughly about 100 million American households. So you got to think to yourself, is 40% of the households in America on food stamps? What has happened to our country? This whole big lie, Alex, that we could all live at the expense of our neighbors, that somebody should pay for our mortgage, someone else should pay for our food, somebody else should pay for our gas, all this stuff. I mean, it's just a giant lie. And it's all falling apart right now on the cold reality that we cannot finance our debts anymore.
All right, I want to talk about generally what you're recommending for people to protect themselves, but it's all covered in more detail at endofamerica3.com. And we've got banners up on Infowars.com to this video because it's so important right now. If you want to go check it out, watch the video, send the link out to folks, because we need to face up to what we're in the middle of.